Good day. This is Gary Hines from the Gary Hines Consulting Group, and you're listening to another edition of Career Strategy Forum that can be heard on G-Town Radio, WGGT LP 92.9 FM, also on Spotify for Creators, and on Mixcloud, and on YouTube. So I am all over the place. Anyway, welcome. I'm glad to be back. It is January 2026, and I haven't really done a show in a couple of months because I had done some interviews that you guys hopefully have seen. I'll talk about them a little later, but I'm back to being on point with my strategy and suggestions and tips and techniques for your job search. So just so you know, I am reading from notes that I created. So you'll see me occasionally glancing up and down about that. Anyway, let's get on with the lesson. And today's lesson is about branding, elevator speech, and changing careers. Now, I do have a separate video all on changing careers and, what you need to do to prepare for that. But right now, we'll just touch on that, but we'll talk more about branding, elevators, and elevator speeches. So, this is part of a series that I started last year in January. Actually, it's 1 year. January of 2025, when I started talking about various preparations that you could do as a job seeker or a career changer. And I think next month in February, I will just recap all of those particular 12 or so sessions that I did, just to recap them before I move on. And then, as I told you too, we're going to be delving into some ideas and some subject matter around what happens when you're actually on the job, staying on the job and advancing and transferring and things like that. So anyway, that's all going to be coming up soon. Okay. So what I want to do today is talk about the goals. And of course, we've already talked a few times about job search basics and how you should treat your job search as if you're a company selling yourself and you're the product you're trying to sell to a potential customer. And the customer would be obviously an employer that you're trying to get hired by, or that actually you're trying to hire as well. Because remember, it's a two-way street in job search. The company is looking at you, evaluating you, and you're doing the same thing with them. You're evaluating them as well. So we're going to talk about the importance of your personal brand, talk about elevator speeches, how to develop an elevator speech. Also, by the way, some people call elevator speeches 30-second commercials. Same thing, basically. Learn how to identify skills when changing jobs or careers and understanding the difference between hard and soft skills. And then, I'll give you like a little bit of homework to do around how you can develop all of these things that we're going to talk about. Okay. So what is a brand? So when you think about branding, you think about retail, you think about merchandise, you think about names that you've probably all heard of: Samsung, Visa, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Facebook, Burger King, IKEA. Places like that. These are brands of programs that either sell a product or sell a service. In the case of social media, Yahoo, Facebook, Google, are more likely selling a service. Okay, but they do sell products as well. So that's what basically a brand is. So, so what is a company brand? So a company brand is what you think and feel about a company. A personal brand is what others think and feel about you. So you've all heard the term influencer, which is, just all over the place today on social media and other places. But think of yourself as an influencer to potential companies that you want to work for. So in the world of influencers, they have to sell themselves constantly. They have to refresh. They have to be up to date. And they have to always present in a way that's going to be attractive to get more viewers onto their sites. So think about yourself as an influencer to particular companies that you're looking to work for. So your brand is what others think and feel about you, and your brand is whatever others say it is. Not what you say and think, but what other people perceive you to be. So, are you known for customer service? Are you known for sales? Are you known for bookkeeping or accounting? What is your brand? And your brand sometimes has to do not only with your hard skills, like I just mentioned, sales, customer service, computer technician, but also your personality. Vibrant, self-starter, a go-getter, team player. That's part of a brand as well. So there's a couple of different parts to being, having your own brand. So your brand has several markets. As an employee, you have a brand. As a spouse, husband or wife, you have a brand. As a parent, as a sibling, as a neighbor, and your brand can change or be altered depending on the audience. So again, all those things I just mentioned, you act and are perceived a certain way on your job than you are as a spouse, than you are as a parent or a sibling. So remember, you can have several brands of yourself. But right now, we're going to focus on who you are as an employee and what you have to offer a particular company. So, what is your brand? What kind of skills are these? I can give you a couple of this list here. So, some positive brand elements are things like reliability, being punctual, supportive, energetic, keeps confidences, gets job done, neat. All right, so those would be some positive brand elements. On the negative side would be things like unreliable, tardy, critical, lazy, gossiper, can't depend on you, or sloppy. So again, if you think about those two areas, a positive side and a negative side. So some people have negative brands, and it might work for them in a lot of different ways, but we want to think about the positive side of branding. So your ultimate goal is to envision something that you might want to do in the future, or you might want to offer in the future as a job seeker. So what is your vision? The core ideal that gives your business shape and direction. So let's look at some like little branding slogans. So Oxfam is an organization, and their slogan is a just world without poverty. Feeding America, another organization, and their slogan is a hunger-free America. The Human Rights Campaign, theirs is equality for everyone. National Multiple Sclerosis Society, a world free of MS. Alzheimer's Association, our vision is a world without Alzheimer's. And then Habitat for Humanity, a world where everyone has a decent place to live. So these are visions, and these are, that have been branded into slogans and statements that kind of define these organizations. So just keep that in mind when you start thinking about yourself. And then what is your mission? The TED Talks, spreading ideas is their mission. The Humane Society is celebrating animals, confronting cruelty. Smithsonian is the increase and diffusion of knowledge. And Best Friends Animal Society is a better world through kindness to animals. Livestrong is to inspire and empower people affected by cancer. So you have vision and mission. Just like in any organization, as part of their strategic plan and as part of who they are, they usually have a mission statement and a vision statement. Okay, so think about that along the lines of yourself. So what do you do that adds remarkable, measurable, distinguished, distinctive values? You may be able to start just by thinking along these lines. I bring X, Y, and Z to any job that I do. So you can start with something on those lines. So if you're an expert writer, if you're an expert communicator, if you are an expert mathematician, what do you bring? Start thinking about some of the values that you bring to yourself as a person and that you would offer somebody moving forward into a new job. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So let's go into, having absorbed all of that, let's talk about elevator speeches and kind of what that means. And why would you even need an elevator speech? So an elevator speech builds clarity about you. It also enhances your professional image. It prevents misspeaking and rambling. And it also gives you a competitive advantage. So it gives you a good, clean, concise picture of who you are and what you want. So an elevator speech, and the way it was developed is the fact that supposedly, if you can imagine, when you get in the elevator at the bottom floor and you go up to the top floor, and the time it takes to get from the bottom floor to the top floor, you should be able to tell somebody else in that elevator who you are, what you want, and what you bring to the table, that kind of thing. So that's why the name elevator speech has gotten in there. And as I mentioned earlier, some people call this a 30-second commercial. So it's very kind of similar to that as well. So there's 3 key elements to the elevator speech: who you are, what do you do, and what are you looking for? So think about those 3 elements as we move into developing an elevator speech. Okay? So don't speak the way you write. So here's some examples of some things that might be a little bit too wordy if you're describing yourself, and then something that's a little bit more to the point. Remember, brevity and conciseness is so critical in everything that we do today. It's all about the time and how much time you're going to take up of somebody's presence. So here's a couple of examples. I help individuals, couples, and families make sound financial plans so that they don't outlive their money. Okay, so that sounds like maybe a financial planner. So that sounds good. I mean, I'm going to repeat it again. I help individuals, couples, and families make sound financial plans so that they don't outlive their money. All right, let's try that in a way that's a little bit more precise. I'm a financial planner and I make sure my clients don't outlive their money. So that's a little bit more direct and to the point. Again, brevity, you want to think about that, keeping something a little bit more shorter and to the point. So again, I'll read that second part again. I'm a financial planner and I make sure my clients don't outlive their money. So, somebody can ask you, who are you? What do you do? And you can bring that, that statement that you develop for yourself. And again, I hope you're thinking about how you can, formulate something about yourself, given these examples. Here's another one. The growing population of at-risk youth. So, well, let me say that again. The growing population of at-risk adolescents. So somebody might say, well, who's your audience? The growing population of at-risk adolescents versus kids at risk. So kids at risk is just quicker, more to the point, more succinct. And again, if you're in an elevator and you're talking, you don't want to be too wordy. You don't want to bog down on one part of your speech and not get everything across. So again, the growing population of at-risk youth, I keep saying youth, the growing population of at-risk adolescents versus kids at risk. So kids at risk is just cleaner and more precise. So think about that along the way. So, you might want to use a question too when you think about your elevator speech. You know that pile of papers you've got somewhere in your house that you've been meaning to get through? As a professional organizer, I help people finally get through it. So again, this is a way to brand yourself to say, let me address a problem that you may be having. So this was a person who is some sort of administrative organizer that would help you pull your stuff together, okay? Make sure you have the right answer when you ask a question. It's about the value you bring to any operation. So again, I apologize here for a minute because I keep having a runny nose that I've been having for the last couple of months since the winter. Okay. But anyway, you might think about the question. So what can I do to help you solve this issue, this problem? Okay. And that's what I do. Be memorable. So I am a real estate agent versus I sell the American dream. I help people buy houses. Okay. So somebody says, what do you do? I'm a real estate agent. Okay. But if you said, I sell the American dream, I help people buy houses. Okay. So I know that's a little contradictory to what I said earlier about being brief, but this is really a clearer statement and it's sort of poetic and lyrical. So we get people to kind of remember how you said that as a real estate person, right? So think about that along those lines. So your audience is also asking, what's in it for me? What is in it for me? That is always what everybody wants to know. So let me give you an elevator pitch example. I am an office support professional with experience managing marketing programs and initiatives for the manufactured consumer products industry. Being the people person that I am, I enjoy being hands-on and getting to know what the customer wants and needs, and then working to make it happen. When I use my customer service skills, customers like the service they get and they become loyal customers. In fact, I was able to increase customer retention by 25% at my last company. If you have the time, I'd be thrilled to share more about my background. One thing I want you to notice about what I just said, there was a number put in there. There was some quantifiable information given there. I was able to increase customer retention by 25%. That gets people's attention when they hear numbers. This is the same thing I tell people on their resume. Try to quantify some of the things you've done in the past so that people can get a clearer idea of just what it is you've done. To say I increased sales is great, but to say I increased sales by 35% for 6 quarters straight is something that really would resonate with people more. So think about that when you're doing your elevator pitch. So the next step is, how do you build this elevator speech? Number one, you want to state the problem or the need that your skills address. So key goals for the position. If you want to be hired by an accounting firm, you might want to think about what is the problem that they may possibly be having. What's the problem in the world of accounting? What's the need that they may have? Say some laws have changed in the banking industry or in the treasury bond industry. What is it that you can identify that you can work with, that can help this company out with that particular problem? Take the most relevant 2 to 4 skills or interests State how you apply ththose skills and how an organization would benefit from your skills. And about 150 to 225 words, your pitch should go no longer than 45 seconds. So even though I said 30-second elevator speech, 30 seconds could be up to a minute. So even though my notes tell me to say it shouldn't be longer than 45 minutes, if you go up to a minute, nobody's going to crucify you. All right, so let me repeat that again. State the problem, take the most relevant 2 to 4 skills or talents that you have, state how you apply these skills to that problem, and how an organization will benefit from your skills. And then again, when you say that, it would resonate with somebody that really, really might need to hear that information. So, and I want you to think beyond the elevator. Say you're in an interview or at a networking event. You can also do your elevator speech that way. When somebody says, "Who are you? Tell me who you are, John Smith." Well, you can state it in those ways. What are the pain points that organization or that industry may have? How can you deal with those pain points, and how would it apply to that company? And what would the benefits be? All right, so think about that in terms of your elevator speech. So here's like a template. And by the way, if you want me to send you a template, I can do that if you email me at gary@garyhinesconsulting.com and tell me you would like the elevator speech template, and I can certainly send that to you. But I'll just read it off for a minute. Hello, I am, you state your name. I am you state your profession. With experience in, you state your industry or any recent training. I have key strengths in X, Y, and Z. My primary goal as part of a successful team is to contribute to the success of my employer's organization and add value into their existence. So this is a way to get started. And again, I have this in a form that I can send to you if you contact me. But again, just to give you a brief example, hello, I am Gary Hines. I am a career coach and trainer with experience in the manufacturing, finance, and IT industries. I have key strengths in evaluation and adjustments to changes and plans. My primary goal as part of a successful team is to contribute to the success of my employer's organization and add value to this world. So again, I just made that right off the top of my head. But you can use an idea like this to help you get started on your speech. All right. So again, it's important to have an elevator speech. It is important to have that ready, not only if you're in an elevator, but if you're in the grocery line, if you're in the bank, if you are sitting in a waiting room and you start a conversation with somebody, when you're traveling on a plane, you should have that at the ready. And it could change, again, matter of fact, it should change. And if you can find out what the other person does or what their business is and how you can maybe relate to that business. And again, some of these transferable skills that we've talked about can be used in any industry. Things like reliability and communication and teamwork and initiative, etc. These things can all be used in any type of industry. So anyway, that's my little story here on elevator pitches and speeches that you need as a job seeker. Okay? So let's move on to changing careers. If you are looking to move into a new or an entirely new industry or a new position or a job related to your current industry, then you should know some things about changing careers. And why would people want to change careers? Well, there could be many, many reasons. The old job is disappearing. That's quite appropriate in today's world. Never really interested in the old job. You're bored with the old job. You want a new challenge. You want something more rewarding. You don't need the same hours or same salary. You want to slow down but not stop working. So these are just a few of the many, many things that could, get somebody motivated to change careers. Okay. So you should think about like this as a Venn diagram. In one circle, you have what I want to do. What are my passions and interests? And then you have in another circle, what can I do? What are my skills and soft and hard skills that I bring to the table? And then in your third area, you have what is the marketplace? What are the marketplace needs? What are the jobs today and in the future? And if you can find that sweet spot in the middle, that's your career sweet spot. So the ultimate goal is to get the job that fits in your career sweet spot. So again, let me repeat that. So you have in one section of the diagram, what I want to do, what are your passions and interests, what you can do, your experience, your skills, both hard and soft, and then what does the marketplace need? Where are the jobs? What are the jobs now, and what are they going to be in the future? The ultimate goal is to get a job that fits your career sweet spot. Your career sweet spot is the point where you want to do what you want to do intersects with what you can do and what the marketplace needs. Okay, so if I have time, I'll come back to some homework assignments, but here's something you can think about. Based on your current skills, both hard and soft, what can you do immediately? What skills would you want to develop over time? Do you need to get certified? Do you need to take a course somewhere? What do you need to do to get that skill either better or maybe even developed? What does the marketplace need? There is no use developing skills for a job that isn't in demand. Those skills, and hobbies, remember, you can take a variety of your background and use them as skills that you have. Keep in mind the rapid change in jobs and careers. Which ones are disappearing? Which ones are emerging? For most people, getting to a career sweet spot takes formulating a plan, which may take some years to accomplish. But again, knowing yourself, what you want, in your mind. And this can involve anything. And I talked about this early on in my sessions about analyzing what it is, assessing yourself that you want in a career. What are your values? What are your interests? And then let's take those other skills that I mentioned earlier. Are you a good typist? Are you a good communicator? Are you reliable? Are you dependable? Do you work well in a team? Are you good with Microsoft Office? Take those skills and then what is the market asking for? In your particular industry, let's say it's accounting, what are the skills you know you need? Do you have those skills or do you need to develop them? Okay, so changing career questions. What impact would I like to see made in the world? The essence, when I think of what I love or what inspires me or what I keep getting drawn to, what do I love about it? All right, these are questions you can ask yourself. How many different ways are there to make an impact? Why is it important that it exists? Who's already making this kind of impact? What is it about it that I wish other people could have access to? So again, you want to think about impact, essence, gifts, and efforts. Impact, the mark you want to leave on the world. It could be as big as ending hunger or as small as bringing more laughter into the world. Your essence, what inspires us and moves us to a deeper level. Your gifts, here are the things that you do, ways you see the world, and approaches that you bring to task. And then the effort, things done effortlessly, without resistance, not without sweat and work, indicates things that we are good at, we're challenged about doing. So we want to think about all of these things, okay? So changing careers, you want to start there, and I want to cover more of it. I have a lot more, but what I want to do is really talk about hard skills versus soft skills. And again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because if you go back and find my earlier works, I think it's probably session number 2 or 3 when I talk about career assessment. You want to think about hard skills versus soft skills. Hard skills, computer programming, web design, keyboarding, nursing, financial analysis, electrical wiring, writing, etc. Soft skills, leadership, collaboration, empathy, persuasion, emotional intelligence, curiosity, grit, and ownership, right? So you want to start thinking about some skills that you can write down that are hard skills, soft skills, and where are you lacking? What might you need in this particular job that you're seeking out? Okay, here's another new important skill that's just been developed recently or just been recognized called learnability. Have you ever taught yourself a skill? Have you invested time in learning something new in the last 6 months because you wanted to know more? Can you explain the best method for you to learn something? Ability. Develop and demonstrate learnability, the desire and ability to quickly grow and adapt one skill set in order to stay relevant and succeed. This is a key skill that everybody should have regardless of industry. You are adaptable. You are learnable. You can certainly, if there's certain parts of the job that you don't have experience in, you can certainly learn it. And that's where learnability comes in. Same way with high change agility. If you handle change well, companies are likely to prefer you to someone who has a PhD or 10 years of experience but isn't adaptable. So think about high change agility. Okay, another serious skill. So I want to close out with this couple of statements here. 67% of employers will hire an applicant whose technical skills are lacking if she possesses strong soft skills. But only 9% of employers will hire an applicant with strong technical skills and weak soft skills. And 100% of all employers will hire an applicant with both strong hard and soft skills. All right, so keep that in mind. We can talk more about this. And again, as I said, I have it in an earlier lesson. But again, I want to thank you for tuning in today for this information on elevator speeches and changing careers. This is Gary Hines with the Gary Hines Consulting Group. You're listening to Career Strategy Forum on G-Town Radio, WGGT-LP-FM 92.9, and also on Spotify for Creators, Mixcloud, and YouTube. I'll be back next time with more information for you job seekers. All right, take care. Okay, I didn't mention that I'm on the air in the Philadelphia area on G-Town Radio, WGGT LP 92.9 FM, every second and fourth Saturday. You can listen to that broadcast online as well at gtownradio.com. And as I mentioned, over the last couple of months, I interviewed 2 dynamic career training and business professionals who are also consultants and have their own businesses. I did this in November and December. The first one was Regina Robinson of RM Robinson Solutions, LLC. She specializes in training and coaching and career development and all kind of things around education. Lydia Henry was the second interview. She's with Vision Coach Dynamics. So also she does things like marketing, using how do you get your business out there in front of people, using things like LinkedIn and other programs that she specializes in. So check those out. I have saved them on YouTube, Spotify for Creators, and Mixcloud, all under the titles of Career Strategy Forum. So you should find it, or either look under Gary Hines Consulting. I'm not sure. I'll get those names right eventually. But anyway, I wanted to mention that to you. Okay. So thanks again. And we'll be talking to you soon. And yeah, see you a little bit later.